It was one of those July afternoons where the heat seems to sit on your shoulders, heavy, still, the kind of heat that makes the pavement shimmer and the air hum with a tired silence. Jamal Carter had just finished basketball practice. He was 14, tall for his age, lanky but growing into it. His t-shirt clung to his back with sweat, and his backpack, worn, frayed at the seams, bounced against him as he walked the same route home he always did. Down West Haven Street, past the gas station with the broken sign, across the cracked sidewalk by the community center, and finally past the wide intersection that led to the nicer part of town. He usually didn't pay much attention to the cars. Memphis traffic wasn't exactly glamorous. Dented pickups, old Hondas with loud mufflers, the occasional polished SUV driven by someone just passing through. But that day, he noticed it. A black Lincoln Continental, shiny and spotless, pulled halfway onto the shoulder, hazards blinking. The rear tire was shredded, like it had exploded from the inside out. At first, he kept walking. Not his business, not his neighborhood. But then he saw the driver, an older white man, maybe in his 70s, dressed like someone who didn't expect to be changing tires. Button-down shirt, tan slacks, expensive watch, catching the sun. He stood next to the car, looking down at his phone, frustrated. Every so often he looked up as if hoping someone might stop. No one did. 3 cars passed, then a delivery truck. The man sighed and sat down on the curb slowly, carefully, like his knees weren't what they used to be. Jamal stopped walking. He turned his head. Then his feet followed. He approached slowly, not too fast, hands visible. His mama had taught him. People like that get nervous easy. "Sir," he called out. The man looked up. Jamal raised a hand in a small wave. "Need help?" The man squinted. His face tightened at first, confusion, maybe suspicion, then softened. Yeah, I do," he said. His voice was gravelly, but not unkind. "Flat tire. I tried calling roadside assistance, but they said 2 hours. I don't have that kind of time." Jamal looked at the tire. It was toast. "You got a spare?" The man nodded and pointed to the trunk. Jamal set his bag down. Knees popped as he crouched. "I can get it changed." "You sure?" the man asked. "It's hot out. You don't gotta—" "It's all right," Jamal said. "I know how. My uncle runs a body shop. I help out sometimes." The man watched as Jamal went to work. First he popped the trunk, found the spare and the jack. Then he loosened the lug nuts, bracing the tire iron with one foot, turning his shoulder into it. His hands were dirty in minutes, his shirt even more soaked. But he didn't complain. The man sat on the curb, watching. "What's your name, son?" "Jamal." "I'm Richard." They shook hands, even if Richard's was still dry and Jamal's was covered in brake dust. "How old are you?" 14. 14, and you're already doing more than most adults I know. Jamal just smiled, shrugged. It's just a tire. But Richard was watching him differently now, not as a stranger, as something more. Jamal finished tightening the last lug nut, lowered the jack, wiped his forehead with the back of his arm. "There," he said, "should hold fine till you get it patched." Richard stood slowly. "How much do I owe you?" he asked. Jamal shook his head. "Nothing." "Come on," Richard said. "You saved me a long afternoon." "I didn't do it for money." Richard hesitated, then nodded. He opened the trunk again and pulled out a small bottle of water, unopened. "Least I can do," he said. Jamal took it, nodded. "Appreciate it." And with that, he slung the bag back over his shoulder and kept walking. He didn't look back. Didn't see Richard watching him. Didn't see the way Richard's hand lingered over the trunk, thoughtful. Didn't hear the words he muttered under his breath. "That boy's going somewhere." The next Monday started like any other. Jamal sat in homeroom, chin resting on his palm, doodling in the margins of his notebook. The teacher droned on about a group project. Someone in the back was trying, and failing, to stealthily unwrap a candy. He didn't notice the front office secretary until she knocked gently on the open classroom door. "Mr. Carter?" The entire room went quiet. Heads turned. Jamal straightened up. "Yes, ma'am?" "There's someone here to see you." Jamal blinked. He hadn't done anything wrong, had he? The teacher gave a small nod, and Jamal followed the secretary out. Down the hall, past the lockers, past the faded Student of the Month board that hadn't been updated since April. He expected to see his mom, or maybe a counselor. But there, waiting just outside the main office, stood Richard, this time in a dark gray suit, pressed, crisp, the kind of suit that doesn't come off a rack. Beside him stood a tall man in glasses, holding a leather folder. Jamal stopped mid-step. Richard smiled. "You remember me?" Jamal nodded, still processing. Yeah." "Of course." Richard turned to the man next to him. "This is Andrew. He's my attorney." "Hi, Jamal," Andrew said with a professional nod. Richard gestured to the folder. "I wanted to find you," he said, "because I've been thinking about that day, about what you did, and how you did it." Jamal shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "I didn't really do anything." "You didn't have to," Richard said, "but you did." Andrew opened the folder. Inside was a typed letter, a check, and a glossy envelope. Richard held up the letter. "This is a letter of recommendation. From me, addressed to any scholarship committee, summer program, or school admissions board you ever apply to." He handed it to Jamal, who took it carefully with both hands. "This," Richard said, holding out the check, "is for your future. It's in your name. It's not charity. It's recognition." Jamal looked down at the number. $25,000. His eyes widened. And this," Richard continued, holding the final envelope, "is an invitation. I help sponsor a youth leadership institute every summer. Normally, it's invitation only, but I'd like you to join us." Jamal opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll keep being you," Richard said softly, "because the world needs more of that." Just then, the school principal arrived, having been called to witness the handoff. She looked equally surprised and impressed. They offered to take a photo. Jamal hesitated, then nodded. In the photo, he stands in the center, holding the folder. Richard has a hand on his shoulder. Neither of them are smiling for the camera. They're smiling at each other. The kind of smile that says, "I see you, and I believe in what I see." Weeks passed, then months. But something shifted after that day. Not just at school, in Jamal. He carried himself differently. More upright, more steady. He still played ball, still joked with his friends, still hated math class. But his dreams got louder. That summer, Jamal attended the leadership program Richard had invited him to. It was held on a college campus in Nashville. For 2 weeks, he lived in a dorm, sat in seminars, debated policies, and met kids from all over the country. He was the youngest one there, and maybe the quietest at first. But when they did mock presentations at the end of week 1, Jamal stood in front of the group, palms sweating, knees knocking, and gave a speech about community, about how sometimes being the first one to stop, to help, to care, means everything. People stood up to clap. He got invited back the next year, and the one after that. By his senior year of high school, Jamal had become a local name. Not famous, not flashy, but known. For his work, for his heart. He started a volunteer crew to help neighbors with odd jobs, tire changes, grocery runs, lawn care. He called it Sidewalk Sons. It wasn't a non-profit. It wasn't a business. Just people helping people. Word spread. A local news station did a story, then a podcast, then a national education blog picked it up. Colleges took notice. And when Jamal opened the letter from Morehouse College, full scholarship, leadership distinction, he cried. Not in front of anyone, later, alone, in his room. Quiet tears, the kind that come when you realize the world finally saw what you knew was inside you all along. Richard stayed in touch. Every few months, a letter, sometimes a call. When Jamal graduated, Richard flew in from Chicago, sat in the front row with Jamal's mom and uncle, wore a navy blazer and clapped the loudest when Jamal's name was called. After the ceremony, they hugged. No words, just pride. Later that evening, Jamal pulled out the check stub Richard had once given him, still folded in his wallet, even after all that time. He looked at it and finally understood something he hadn't at 14. That real wealth isn't about money. It's about what you give, and how far those gifts can go. One act of kindness, one flat tire, one moment. Sometimes that's all it takes. To change a path, to change a life, to remind us all, the smallest things we do matter the most. This is a Black Truths original. Subscribe for more real stories that deserve to be heard.